I have to say, I recently started doing that with my bank account because I would get so frustrated about it. And I'd feel like, gosh, I always feel like my nose is just above the waterline. And so I kind of made this agreement with God. I'm going to stop looking. Now, I have to say, I don't overspend. I know what I have in there, but I'm going to stop obsessing about it. And in one of the videos you had said, or maybe it was our planning, I'm not sure, you had said that we got to remember that God is our source of income. Did you say this? That God is our source of income?
I'll take credit if it sounds good.
God is our source of income, not the clients, not the job that you're in, not the company that you work for. And I had to, and he said God uses that as an outlet. You might have used creator, or you might have used something else. He uses that as an outlet, but it's not the sole, it's not your sole source of income. I'm pretty sure this was at our planning meeting. And so I took that.
I don't remember hearing it.
I took that.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I took that and I said, okay. I said, God, I'm going to trust that you are my sole provider of my income. And I'm going to stop obsessing about it. And just the other day, and again, the money goes in, and I pay my bills, and I know what I have, and I stopped obsessing about it. And I went into the bank the other day to make a deposit. And when she gave me back my statement, I did a double take. I was like, oh my God, it was double what I thought. Double what I had been dealing with. And I literally walked and did a double take, and I was like, wow, I'm like, thanks God for being my sole source of income. And again, I checked today and I'm like, this feels really good. And so our energy to things and the fear that we put into it and the obsession about things can actually create more yucky stuff,
it's
right?
That perspective and law of attraction and just,
it's a focus.
you didn't shift anything you were doing, but
I just stopped focusing on the fear part of it. Yeah. And just said, okay, God, you're my sole provider of income, not my clients, not this job that I have or this, next thing that I'm doing. I'm going to trust that you're going to send me the people, the experiences that are going to support me. And I did get busier, right? I got busier and I had other opportunities and experiences come in, and I just kept depositing the money, and it just came in from other sources, and I was like, wow, I stopped worrying about it. It was just a minor adjustment in the belief system, right? A minor adjustment that I need to have more clients and I need to meet more people and I was like, wait a minute, these aren't where my source of income comes from. It's from source. Yeah. I think it was somebody else. I think I know who did say that.
I was about to say, I don't
It's not you.
Yeah, I would have remembered that.
It was actually a life coach that I work with. Yes, and so...
I'll edit that out so everyone thinks I said it. It sounded great.
So, and I remember, and so again, that minor adjustment. So Tony Robbins, when I was at his Unleash the Power Within event, he had said that. He said, think about golfers when they have to go for distance. And for some reason, they're not getting enough distance, or it's going off in a direction they don't want it to, they have to make a minor adjustment. He said usually it's a millimeter. So it's like the shift of a thumb, or a minor adjustment in your back or your hip in order to change your stroke. And the point he was trying to make, that minor adjustments are going to make a huge difference in the long run. So I think so many times with losing weight, we try to lose the 50 pounds and go by leaps and bounds. But if you made minor adjustments, okay, today I'm not going to have that extra whatever, that coffee or that extra sugar or that extra...
I was just reading that last night. It adds up. It's, I want to lose, 5 pounds a week or something. No, if you just take 500 calories less a day or something like that, you'll lose a pound a week, something like that. And it's it's
at the end of a year, you've lost.
It's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
It's true. And so if we can stop thinking instant gratification, I need to lose 20 pounds by next week, and go all out thinking, hey, this is a lifestyle thing. So when we were talking about being vegetarian and vegan earlier, it was something that was gradual for me. It was finally, I would eat meat less and less. The caffeine I was having more problems with it. Mm-hmm. The alcohol, I was buying more alcohol. I knew when I was coming home with boxes of wine that I needed to chill out a little bit, but I was gaining weight and I was unhealthy.
Fun Gladys.
Right? It is. I love wine. but I have it in moderation now, right? So I can really enjoy it when I have it. And so these are the things that we have to be mindful of, that minor adjustments are going to make huge changes in the long run. So instead of putting all this pressure, like, I can't watch any more news and I can't go on social media and I have to work out every single day, this is not what we're saying. We're saying just be mindful of what you're doing and how your body's feeling. And your body might make the choice and saying, you know what, I really don't feel like that right now. And how many times do we
That's awesome.
chase
That's awesome what you just
experiences?
said. Yep. That's what it is. You nailed it.
And you just gotta make the slight change, but you gotta stay in that trajectory.
Be aware of it.
And you can't turn
Follow
back.
through, yep,
Exactly.
and just keep going with it.
Yeah.
And how often I want to say this early, how often do we have an experience that was like, let's say on the fly, like maybe you decided to go out with somebody and you had an excellent time, or maybe you just showed up a place and you're like, let's try that restaurant and it's so delicious and you have such a good time there and you meet people there, or people go out to these clubs or these bars and they have an incredible time, and then what happens is they chase the experience, right? And so they go back to that same place. And you had mentioned it with food, you know, and saying, oh, I'm going to have this because of this emotion that it brings me. And then what happens is it doesn't bring you that experience anymore, because really it was the experience that you had around that.
Right.
And not necessarily, so you see a lot of people who are on that hamster wheel saying, I'm going to buy these foods because this is what worked for me before, or I'm going to go to this place because I met somebody here before, so I'm going to meet somebody again here. And I think we forget that we have to keep having new experiences. We have to keep trying different things in the world and kind of come out of that
And use your gut check.
habit.
Yeah,
Yes.
the gut, definitely.
And
back
it's
to the
like with
instinct.
food and experiences and opportunities, but we're afraid to try new things, right? Because it can be scary. And I think that's one of the things that we have to get used to, you know, being comfortable, uncomfortable. Because when you're out of your comfort zone, you're going to be uncomfortable, right? And I think that's the beauty of learning to be able to manage in that uncomfortable space. I mean, I've been uncomfortable since I left the law firm, right? And here I am having this practice almost 10 years later, still uncomfortable, but I've learned how to be comfortable uncomfortable, so I keep going.
That's part of growth. It really is. I mean,
And uncomfortable doesn't mean unhappy.
No, oh no, absolutely
No.
not. It's a good point. Yep.
yeah, it's taking risks. It's living life. You know, if you're too comfortable, are you really living life?
Well, and if God is everything, you know, we say God is the source and God creates this reality. So God is in every single thing. Then if you really want to get to know God, you got to get to know everything. You can only know a small part of God if you experience the same thing over and over again.
It's true.
That's
It's true.
boring.
Yep. But that's what so many people do, that they create the same relationships. They create the same drama.
Because it's familiar, it's what they know, and then they realize, oops, this isn't what I want, I'm here again. And then we get stuck, right? So I think that's part of remembering that this source creator is our infinite abundance. Will bring our pleasure, will bring us new friends, will bring us the opportunities, will bring us the experiences. Remember, it's here, right? In our
But
bodies.
it's how we drive the ship here, though. Is that right? Driving the ship? Driving the...
Sure.
You get it. It's how we steer
There you
the
go.
car, whatever, the SUV. That's it. God gives us all the stuff, and it's how we deal with it. And so,
And this is
Be
where
aware of it.
ultimately building that relationship with the creator within you and your body and how you're feeling. I think all these messages and guidance that we got for these
Conversations.
conversations tonight really all stemmed around becoming more mindful of how your body's feeling and going within in so many different aspects, and how it's key in everything that we do, our food, our jobs, our friendships, our experiences. It's so
awesome.
simple, but yet
and we all have it,
we forget.
and we don't have to go out and buy it. It's here. Our whole system of knowing is built in.
And it's amazing when you think of what our bodies are capable of, what they do, how our body works with our mind, and works with our soul, you know, and being in tune to everything, you know. And to do that, you have to be present. You know, you have to be present to say, you know, what am I feeling right now, And then when you realize what you're feeling, you can say, what do I need right now? And it all comes back to being present now with who you are, with Source, with the people around you. All of life happens now, and whenever you're not present, you're not living.
And having the drive to take the action. You know, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so now we know all this stuff, but what do we have to do? Well, we have to make those minor adjustments. We have to make changes. And it's easier to just keep doing what you're doing, and it's harder. So let's say to lose weight, it's easier just to buy bigger pants, right? It's harder to make the adjustments and eat less and exercise more and find those activities that bring you joy, you know, or buy bigger pants. Most people would buy bigger pants. So we're not saying this is easy. We're not saying that,
But it's
oh
also-
yeah, you just,
But it's also not hard.
it's not if you
It's-
break it down.
It's just perspective.
It's true.
It's attitude.
And-
You can make it hard or you can make it easier.
Absolutely.
And I think that, you know, you can flip that around and say, it's easier to keep the clothes I have and to not eat the junk food than to go out and buy new pants. But our perspective says healthy's hard, unhealthy's easy.
It's true.
And it's this something that's been fed to us constantly.
Constantly.
And so we do that by ignoring our spiritual life. We do that by eating junk food. We do that by watching terrible TV and getting sucked into the drama of news and all that, and by staying around people that are unhealthy. We've been told by society that it's easier to do the wrong thing. You know, like everyone looks at Jesus and says, you know, it's so hard to be like Jesus. Like, no, it's not. It's one decision at a time, and it's making a decision and sticking with it.
It's funny that you brought him up, because I was going to bring him up earlier and say about the conscious living, because that's what Jesus was teaching.
Yeah.
He was teaching people about going within and trusting that guidance system, and that God was within them,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
he was trying to teach people to live consciously, take care of one another, help one another, serve, right?
Yeah.
And so,
And the irony of the whole Jesus analogy is that Jesus was just as human as us, but we've created this pedestal where he's different. You know, so people look at this concept of what Jesus was and says, well, I can't be like that, that's hard. When if they actually met the real Jesus, first of all, they probably wouldn't know who he was, because they wouldn't understand what he was saying. I think most people don't think that the real Jesus was, you know, who they've learned about. I think they're very different energies.
he was a man of the people and just kind of showed up, and he was the most average person that you would never expect, but yet it was his kind heart, it was his ability to teach and help people and be of service that I think sometimes, like, things will happen to me and I'll just say, Jesus, you know, just help me with this. Show me some insight on how I can handle this or work through this. And it's usually in the most basic, simplest form. And I kind of laugh. I'm like, why am I making this so complicated
Well,
when
that's
it's
the thing.
so easy?
We make
It's
a
so-
lot of things complicated, and it's really, our systems are not wired to make things complicated. Our brains make them more complicated.
And
That's
Jesus
why we have
was
an
a-
intuition. You know, we had talked about earlier. You do a gut check. Is this the right thing? What am I feeling? Am I making the right decision? And you go with that feeling. You overanalyze it, and you're going to come up with 10 different scenarios, 10 different options, and you're just going to drive yourself crazy.
Jesus was such an incredibly simple man. You know, he didn't travel like with luggage and people. He usually had a bag or a sack that went over him. And let's not forget, there's like 20 years or something that are lost, right? And you're talking a man who just traveled. He would show up at villages, and yet people knew who he was, right? So this is somebody who made an impact in the most simplest way, right? He'd show up, and I believe God used him, like I believe that God uses many of us to show people the glory, right? Gosh, they've got this beautiful experiencing happen. As we were talking about the question earlier, you've got this beautiful experience that's happening that's truly divine, or that's truly a gift, and that's what's going to wake people up to say, hey, wow, you know, there's something beautiful going on there. There's some great experience that's happening, right?
Well, it's all, we all have the potential in us, you know, even if we're not even aware of people like Jesus and stuff like that. It's built in, and it's just a matter of us being attuned to it and to recognize it And I think that's what we had said earlier, just to be recognizing of where we are in the moment, what cycle we're into, how our bodies are feeling. And I think that'll go a long way in bringing us back to a good balance where we can move forward in our life
Peace.
with peace and bring it to other people.
Because when this is good, this is good. So when we feel good, the people around us naturally feel good.
Right.
Or they're just gonna, and the people around them, when they feel good, the people around them are gonna feel good. And when they
make us
feel
feel
good,
good.
the people around them are gonna, and really it ripples out. So peace on earth really starts right here. So I think many of us really have to be aware of how we're feeling in order to help peace on earth and make the adjustments and the
Absolutely.
changes.
Yeah, one person at a time.
And it's greater than that, because a lot of people think, one person can't make a difference, or one person can, maybe affect another person. It will have a slow ripple effect, but it's actually much bigger than that, because energetically you're connected to every single person on the planet all the time. You can't, if we're a part of God, you can't break that connection.
Just the physics of it, just the scientific, manifestations of where we live on this planet. All our cells, everything, all our atoms are shared with everyone else.
That energy is all connected, and so what you're feeling and what you're experiencing right now has a profound effect on the world. Not just, a lot of people think that, the ripple effect is small, but it's huge, because you think of when the rock enters the water, right, and there's that big splash, and then you see the little ripples go out. Well, you see the little ripples go out, but what you don't realize is that rock is splashing across the whole world at once. And people tune it out sometimes, and they don't acknowledge it.
Because they can't see it, but it's still happening.
But it's happening, and it's connecting to them. And
So you can make an effect on the world and on a smaller scale with just one other person or another being, another living entity, can be an animal, just in your house. So
Exactly.
nothing's too big and nothing's too
We
small.
don't realize how much of an impact we make and how much people are watching. I was in BJ's once, and I was getting ready to leave, and somebody in front of me dropped something, and things just kind of fell over. So I stopped, I pulled over, and I helped the person pick up the stuff. I kind of smiled at them, we kind of made a joke, and then I left. Well, probably about an hour later, an hour and a half, I received an email from a client who said that she was in the BJ's line and she saw all that stuff fall over. And she said, oh dear, and she's like, and I saw this lovely person with a smile come over and help them pick it up.
You told us the story.
Did I?
Yeah,
And she
yep.
laughed, and she's like, of course that was you. And again, it made me realize that what we do, people are watching, and we don't realize it. So those acts of kindness, I didn't do it because I wanted to please other people, but it goes with the domino effect, that you do something kind and other people are watching that, and then inspires them to want to smile at somebody or
Right.
wanting to
But
help them.
just being in line, you can tell someone's in a bad mood or someone's in a good mood. Does it feel better to be next to the person in a good mood or the person in a bad mood? Obviously, you want to be with the good person. I thought I didn't.
Unless you're in a bad mood,
I wasn't looking for an answer.
Unless you're in a bad mood, you want to be around other people in a bad mood. But
Well,
yeah.
that's
yeah.
that negative attracting each other.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of break that cycle.
But it's okay to want to be in that place sometimes too, and to think that, anger is not negative.
It's an experience.
And that's the thing. People think too much. Like
It's bad.
they
and-
say, negative energy. It's the only thing negative is taking anything to an extreme. Where you're not in
We're
balance.
human. We're going to be in a bad mood. We're going to have a bad day. We're not going to want to talk to people. I have to acknowledge those and saying, hey, today I'm just going to shut off the phone and I'm just
Right.
not
And it's
going to
in
be
your-
around.
And it's in your best interest.
Right.
And other days, being out there and giving everything you have is the right thing.
All
and,
about
and
it.
It's balance.
It's the balance.
But it's those shoulds. We feel like we should be happy all the time. We should help everybody. We should give money to everybody who needs it, or we should give. And then what happens is we end up depleting ourselves and feel resentful and angry about it, right?
Do the best you can.
And it's just don't
Right?
and just don't let yourself, don't predefine who you are in any moment. You know, I'm Gladys Ellen, so I have to smile and be cheery to everybody because my whole business is based on this. You know, or
Heavenly hugs.
yep, or I'm Joe, and you know, people come to me for readings about, you know, their past loved ones, so I need to make sure that, you know, I'm 100% all the time, and that if I feel this energy, I have to give the message. And it's like, you know what, people come to you because you're real.
Right.
You know, it's that energy coming in that comes to you because of who you are with all the experiences. You know, if you were happy all the time in this perfect place, you're not going to be able to channel through somebody who died with anger issues because you won't make that connection because you're so too far removed from it. You know, if you were in a place where your life was perfect, you couldn't help people whose lives weren't perfect because you wouldn't be able to connect with them, that you
Or
wouldn't be able to
understand.
understand each other.
Absolutely.
You know, so part of going into the work that you're deciding to do is giving up the fact that, you know I'm not going to have a perfect life because I want to be able to help people on this
And
this one-on-one
be
level.
relatable. Yeah.
And you see that with some of the big names out there that do this work, is that they've decided that they want this life, and so they've removed themselves from the intimate experiences that they have with people. And it's not that it's wrong,
Yeah.
but it's that decision. And then you start to see that they don't relate to people as much anymore. They still can give their talks and they talk about their concepts, but they don't talk as much about their recent experiences. They talk more about their past experiences.
And I have to say that's one of the reasons why I feel like I share everything. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, I think it's important because we're all human, right? And when we realize that, gosh, I'm not the only one who goes through this, I'm not the only one that has these experiences, then you know what? I'm doing okay. And I think that's incredibly liberating,
Absolutely.
right? So, you know, people who are teachers and people who are mentors, I think it's important to stay connected. And remember, God's using us as a source to help people as well. Just like we talk about money, you know, and God bringing in our source of abundance, He's using us to help people as well, right? So
And we are having the human experience, so don't deny ourselves
to be
that-
pissed.
to be pissed, to swear,
Yeah.
you know, to
Yeah, we don't do that when we're setting up, if you could see it. We don't deny ourselves the swearing.
listen. It's very, very stress-free in here when we set up to do one of these shoots. Everyone's well behaved, and it's like being in a monastery.
Said no one ever.
So no one ever. But that's part of the deal. I mean, part of the deal is having a human experience, and we
And
can't forget
all
that.
the broad spectrum of emotions that come with it.
Good, bad, and ugly, like you just said. It really is. It's part of the deal. What we want to do is just try to limit and balance it so we don't go off the deep
It's
end.
not the extreme, the pendulum swing. We're high,
Right.
we're low, we're high, we're low.
Right.
So that's what these minor adjustments and mindfulness can help ease that, so the pendulum is, you know, somewhat centered, going back and forth.
Right. You're still having the experiences, but you're just not you're getting the real highs, the real lows.
Yep. Yeah, you've got that balance where if you swing a little this way, you're swinging a little bit back that way. And you're not way out here to the point where you swung so far out that you can't remember what it's like to swing back up this way, and then you
Crash.
crash. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no-go. That's not good. Don't want to
No
go
bueno, no bueno.
there. No bueno.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show, and please come back and check us out.
If you have any questions, please write them into our Facebook page and continue to follow us on YouTube. Subscribe if you can. And if you'd like to share this video to someone that you think might need it, that would be very appreciative.
And remember, always consider the source.